here's the thing about this team that I find, I don't want to say alarming, but I think it's indicative of them losing focus at times. That game ends, right, with all the stuff that happened in that game Thursday night. They have won their 2 in a row. And what Odell Beckham's story is out there? That the NFL has been drug testing him twice a week. Who cares? Why would anybody in Cleveland care about that? That's between him and the league. And this stuff comes out because he is the center of attention.
Right.
He wants to be the center of attention. Then he wants to go, well, because it's me, it's a big deal. Well, no, it's a big deal because you're the one that brought it to people's attention.
We must assume he's clean.
I guess. I mean, if he was, that's all anybody in Cleveland should care about, right? Is he eligible for games? I don't know why the NFL's doing it. But why do we feel I'm wound up now, can you tell?
I can see.
In a lot of big markets, the fan base would be saying, this trade has been terrible for our team.
Okay.
What is wrong with this guy? But in this market, the fans and media are like, well, why doesn't the league stop picking on Odell about dress code stuff? And now this drug testing thing. Well, who cares about that? Win some games.
Knowing what you know now, would you do that trade again?
I probably would. How about that?
No, I
think he's a tremendous talent, and I just don't like what comes with that talent sometimes.
Okay,
and I'm not saying he's been a terrible teammate, but you just have to get used to the fact that it's not going to be, a guy who just goes out there and plays his position like Nick Chubb does.
Okay, so
which I wish a lot of more guys would do.
With 6 games left, right? Is that what it is?
6 more to go.
6 more to go. Doesn't this team have to revert itself and become a running ball club now that you have Hunt and Chubb, and you don't have the production from the wide receivers?
Well, I thought that last week after the Buffalo game, I thought the Buffalo game was a bit of a revelation to the Browns that not only could they use these guys together effectively, but that Hunt was ready and ready for more probably. So I think that's the clearest path for them is to do that. Now, that could open up things for both Landry and Beckham at times, right?
I would think if they got to come in and pinch the corners.
I still see too many guys worried about their, or talking about it at least, their individual, goals of becoming the defensive player of the year in Garrett's case and leading the league in sacks. And Antonio Callaway, before he got let go, was going to be a 1,000-yard receiver. Just go out and do it. And then people won't. You don't have to tell anybody about it.
How about Beckham? He gets the big play early and gets tackled at the goal line, and he thinks he's got a touchdown, and then they replay it, and they find out he was a half a yard or a yard short. I sense that he said doesn't care that they're going to go get the touchdown in the next 3 downs. I sense that he was more worried about having it taken away from him.
I don't know about that part, but I know that one of the first things he did was turn around to Mike Tomlin and bring up something that happened 6 months ago in an interview by going like this, like, oh, you don't really care about them signing me? We'll take that. And you're like, why is that even on his radar? Why?
No, go score a couple of touchdowns and let them do the talking.
Like, that's what every time I look at these guys this year, I'm just like, and it goes to Baker Mayfield, it goes to Landry at times. Landry gets the taunting penalty that forces a 48-yard PAT attempt, and when it misses, he's asked after the game, and he says, I would do the exact same thing. Really? Why?
Well,
why would you do the exact same thing?
Doesn't Freddie have to come in and put a stop to that?
At some point he does. I mean, I think he erred on the side of, I want my players to be themselves, and as long as it doesn't hurt our team. Well, I think you could make the argument in some cases this year that it has hurt the team.
Yeah, because a field goal would have beaten them or at least tied them instead of having the cushion of a 4-point lead.
Listen, I think they're on the right path, and the schedule will allow them to run off a bunch of wins in a row, or it should. But, I mean, we're not talking – Baker Mayfield was honest enough about it last week, Les, to say we're not even close to being the offensive team we can be.
I can agree. I would agree with that.
And he's right. I mean, listen, if not for – and you can't play the if-not thing, but they needed a late drive to beat Buffalo at home.
Right.
They were locked in a 14-7 game that Pittsburgh had no right being in until Mayfield throws that ball into the middle of the end zone at the height of a defensive back who just happens not to be turning around and looking. So, I mean, he's been better. He's going to have to still be better yet if they're going to beat Baltimore if they're going to go into Pittsburgh and win, if they're going to go to Arizona and win.
All right, so I think what you're saying is that they may lose one of those games, and if they finish the rest with wins, they got a 9-7 record. If I told you forget how they got to that point. If I told you back in early September they're going to be 9-7, I think most of us would have been. I think I said 10-6, but most of us would have accepted 9-7.
Yeah, I picked 10-6, so I guess I'd be a hypocrite if I said 9-7 would be totally, inadmissible in my mind. But the way it's happened, the lack of focus I've seen, the lack of discipline I've seen, that makes me feel like they could have been so much more than that.
But that's
this
what
year.
happens to 9-7 teams.
True.
They do things that make them 9-7 or 7-9.
That's true.
There's almost no difference on the field in games between a 9-7 team and a 7 or 9 team.
Yeah, that's probably a fair conclusion.
2-1.